what a Chilean Milei should do? Well, today we discuss. Chile is a country that had a very good run regarding macroeconomics, of course, economic growth, standards of living between the early 1990s until the early 2000s, 2010. You can pinpoint that particular time frame. And actually, Chile is one of the most developed countries in Latin America, and they done a bunch of things right regarding economic freedom and so on, and free market policies. And of course, the Chilean society reap the benefits. However, since let's say the early 2010s, the Chilean economy got stagnated, and the situation, I mean, it's not bad. Chile still on a very good place regarding macroeconomics. However, since this stagnation has generated some first social turmoil that had to be said, but the country is on this particular crossroad that is neither growing, but let's be honest, is not like that is collapsing or something like that. We addressed on a previous video the issues why I'm not particularly bullish on Chile. And by the way, that particular analysis came from years of research. I mean, it's not something that I was just thrown out of the blue, and came from Intel, macroeconomic Intel, but also social Intel, boots on the ground. That doesn't make me confident about the future of the Chilean economy, at least not on a certain time span. Now, if we look Chile's neighbor, Argentina, that's a country that actually I'm very bullish on, and is on a very upward trend since basically a year ago or so, since Javier Milei arrived into the presidential power of Argentina. However, something that we have to be clear and responsible is that the Chilean economy is better placed right now, and since basically Milei arrived, that the Argentina's economy. So we have to be, be responsible with that. However, the trend that we're seeing right now is that in Argentina, the trend is upwards. Meanwhile, the Chilean trend is just stagnated. So today we are going to do like a what if scenario if in Chile gets elected a Milei-like candidate, and I'm going to use as an archetype this particular gentleman. His name is Axel Kaiser, that he is a free thinker, free market, libertarian guy, Austrian school of thought of economics. Actually, he's very popular in Chile and in Latin America overall. And actually, he's good friends with Javier Milei. However, he's not completely involved in politics. I know his brother, Johannes Kaiser, he is involved in politics. But I'm going to use Axel just as an archetype what if scenario, if he becomes the president of Chile, and what he should do if we want to apply Milei-like economics. So the first thing regarding applying Milei-nomics in Chile is that the good news is that the mess that this particular Chilean Milei will inherit is not as bad as the one that Milei inherited in Argentina. And actually, Milei still has a lot to do regarding that particular mess, regarding fiscal spending, debt to GDP, and so on and so on. I mean, and basically how the legal system regarding, of course, macroeconomics and free market policies had to be applied. Of course, Milei is on a good start. So, and we discussed that previously. So, this particular Chilean Milei, Axel Kaiser, he will inherit something, actually a more, let's say, healthy situation regarding debt to GDP and fiscal spending and free market policies and so on. Chile, actually, regarding economic freedom in Latin America, is one of the best countries on that. It's on a better position regarding, of course, for Latin American standards. We see here the position on the Heritage Foundation Freedom Index, also on the Doing Business of the World Bank. So Chile, for Latin American standards, is very well positioned, but not as much compared to other OECD countries. Like Chile is actually one of the last countries regarding economic freedom overall on this organization, this group of quote unquote rich countries. So basically, the work that the Chilean Milei will have to do is just reducing bureaucracy in the Chilean economy and all of this particular process, because at the end of the day, that trickles down to the rest of the economy. So basically, you have more synergy, more compounding, and you increase GDP overall. The second thing is regarding how the Chilean economy has been structured and is heavily reliant on the price of copper. And we discussed that previously. Chile relies a lot on the prices of copper throughout, of course, the whole economy. And Chile actually has a state-owned copper company called Codelco. We discussed that. It's a public company, state-owned company that generates losses basically every single year, and is not necessarily their existence, the structure. Of course, it's not good. A company that shows losses, net losses every single year, that is not a good company. I mean, you don't need to be an economist or an investor in order to figure that one out. Anyways, so basically, restructure not only on Codelco, but the very close dependence of the Chilean economy overall with this particular commodity. Number 3 is fiscal spending. In Chile, I remember on a particular time span, the only net jobs generated by the Chilean economy, they were generated via the public sector. So basically, more public jobs are paid with public debt and inflation and money printing and so on. Now, in Chile, it's not that bad. The currency is more stable, the Chilean peso, so good on that. But it's a ticking time bomb that you have regarding Chilean macroeconomics. So less public jobs, more private jobs, and of course, you need to create the incentives for the companies in order to actually generate further investment, further foreign direct investment, and so on, in order to grow, in order to generate more private jobs throughout the economy, net private jobs. And the last thing I want to address is social culture. That, for instance, compare here with Milei, that he generated a big social culture, especially on the younger ones that just wanted a new path, compared to this particular paradigm of state intervention and basically socialism that Argentina had in the past 100 years, something like that, national socialism, a lot of protectionism within the Argentinian economy. That, of course, Chile, that's probably the best thing about Chile. Chile doesn't have these protectionist policies until a certain degree. So on that regard, Chile is way better than Argentina. But the issue with Chile, that's something that it trickles down negatively throughout the Chilean economy, is basically how society thinks. And on the younger people, unlike Argentina, they want something different to socialism. They want free market policies. Well, in Chile, it's kind of the other way around. Now, younger people, I mean, significant cohorts of the younger people, want more of a social state, something like European socialism, something like that. However, Chile is not rich enough in order to provide this particular, stance of living throughout fiscal spending, like Europe does. Some of the countries, most of the countries within the European Union, and this is something that Chile, the economy right now, is not positioned in order to provide. Now, other thing regarding the Chilean culture, we discussed that previously, low trust society, also a lot of nepotism that happens a lot in Chile. Everywhere in the world you have nepotism, but in Chile is something next level because there is not as much of social mobility, and on the macro perspective, that creates, of course, hinders the situation and is bad for business. Anyway, and this is probably the most difficult thing, the most difficult issue to tackle down on Chile, and I'm using the archetype of Axel Kaiser. Axel has a different dynamic compared to Milei. Milei, he's very outspoken and hilarious, actually, and he's more than an economist or a politician. He's like a rock star regarding his speeches and so on. Meanwhile, Axel has a completely different personality. He is actually more stoic, more cool, more calm down guy, and probably doesn't have that fire that Milei has. And actually, he admitted it himself. It's a funny thing. But something that he's very good on, and he's very intellectual, he's very smart, he has his facts straight, and if he can make a quote unquote social revolution, a Milei-like social revolution, but on his particular way, and transmit those particular ideas to the Chilean society overall, like Milei did in Argentina. And actually, if this particular what if scenario becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy, you can argue that I will be more bullish on Chile than even Argentina. So in order to sum it up, Chile first, let's give a shout out to Chile, what they have been doing, they have done, they have accomplished. A few decades ago, it was impressive and they reaped the benefits. So good on that on Chile. However, the situation, the sentiment of the market on the past, let's say, decade or so, hasn't been the best. Can Chile turn around things for the better and actually fulfill that destiny to be the quote unquote richest country in Latin America? There is a possibility, yeah. And someone like Axel Kaiser can pull it off. I'm sure he can. But remember, this is just food for thought. We just have to wait and see. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. And if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.